The stage lights were blinding, but the boy's eyes glowed brighter. His name was Emilio, a 14-year-old boy from a tiny fishing village in the Philippines. He stood barefoot on the massive stage of an international talent show, his clothes simple, his guitar patched with tape, and his hands trembling not from fear, but from the weight of his dreams. For the first time in his life, the world was watching him. The judges glanced at each other. Some smiled politely, others raised skeptical eyebrows. He looked so fragile, so small, as if the stage itself might swallow him. The audience whispered, "Who is this boy? Can he even sing?" Yet Emilio stood tall, remembering the words his late father used to whisper while mending fishing nets. "Son, your voice is your boat. Sing, and it will carry you farther than the tide ever could." When the music began, Emilio strummed softly, his fingers a little shaky at first. Then he opened his mouth and poured out the first lines of Hotel California. His voice, raw, pure, and hauntingly beautiful, floated into the air. The audience went silent. No more whispers, no more doubts. Just a sea of faces stunned into stillness by the magic spilling from a boy who had almost nothing. As the song unfolded, Emilio sang not like a contestant chasing applause, but like a child reaching out for the memory of home. Each lyric carried the scent of salty sea air, the crackle of kerosene lamps, the sound of his mother humming while cooking rice. The words, "You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave," shook the theater, not as a line from a famous song, but as a cry from a boy who knew what it meant to lose, his father to illness, his childhood to poverty, his innocence to hunger. By the second verse, the camera caught tears rolling down the cheeks of the judges. One clutched her chest, another covered his face with his hands. They weren't just listening to a boy sing, they were hearing the story of millions of unseen children like him, voices drowned out by the noise of the world. And then it happened. The audience rose to their feet in unison, clapping, shouting, some even sobbing. A man in the back raised his phone's flashlight, and soon, the entire hall twinkled like a galaxy. Emilio closed his eyes, his voice growing stronger, soaring higher, as though he was no longer alone on that stage but lifted by the unseen love of his father. When the final chord echoed, silence lingered, a holy, breathless silence. Then, all at once, thunderous applause shook the room. The judges couldn't wait another second. One of them smashed the golden buzzer, and confetti rained down like a storm of golden blessings. Emilio gasped, covering his face as tears streamed down his cheeks. He wasn't just a boy anymore. He was a beacon. But the story didn't end with the buzzer. Something unexpected happened. One of the judges, a stern man famous for his tough critiques, stood up, walked to the stage, and embraced Emilio tightly. With a voice breaking, he whispered into the microphone, "My father sang this song to me when I was a boy. Tonight, you brought him back to me. Thank you." The crowd roared even louder. It was no longer just about a performance. It was about healing, connection, and the invisible threads that tie human hearts across oceans and languages. Backstage, Emilio's mother waited, her face lined with years of struggle but glowing with pride. She clutched her son's patched-up guitar like it was made of gold. When Emilio ran into her arms, she whispered, "Your father is smiling, Hio. You did it." In the weeks that followed, Emilio's life transformed. News outlets shared his story worldwide. Donations poured in, not just for Emilio, but for his village. Schools were built, fishing boats repaired, and children who once sang to the waves for comfort now sang in classrooms filled with hope. But the most powerful change was invisible. People across the world, Americans watching in their living rooms, Europeans streaming clips on their phones, Filipinos cheering with pride, felt something shift inside them. They remembered that kindness still exists, that talent can bloom anywhere, and that a poor boy's voice could unite strangers with tears and joy. Months later, Emilio returned to the stage for the finals. He wore shoes this time, but he still carried his old patched guitar. Before singing, he said softly, "This is for all the children who are told they are too poor to dream. Don't stop singing. The world needs your voice." He strummed the strings, and the hall filled once again with a voice that no longer trembled. It soared, strong, certain, free. And somewhere, in the hearts of everyone who heard him, a quiet golden buzzer was pressed, not for a show, but for humanity itself.